So, hey Periscope, it is me, Shaniqua C of Shaniqua C TV, ShaniquaCannon.tv. I am your confidence coach as well as your story strategist, content strategist. I do it all. All right, so as I said, right now I'm sharing this out. I'm on Facebook as well as Periscope, and if I had another way, I would also be on Instagram and YouTube, but I don't right now, and that is okay. I will just have this conversation with them in a different part. Let's chat. Okay, so I actually wrote down notes. I didn't want to just do this from my heart, so to speak, because sometimes when I talk from my heart, I get a little jumbled up and I don't necessarily say everything that I wanted to say. Periscope meet Facebook, Facebook meet Periscope. All right, so I'm going to be looking between the two of you. So I have notes, which is unusual for me because I usually don't plan things. But these notes are really important because, like I said, I don't want to forget what it is that I'm talking about. So first off, I want to talk about the label of mental health. Right now, I've seen so many posts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the news pages, etc. I've seen all these posts from people talking about mental health is real, mental health is real. First of all, that phrase actually doesn't work. It sucks. Mental health means the health of your mental, the health of your mental, the health of your brain. So saying that the health of your brain is real is a no-brainer, so to speak. So what we're talking about here is some kind of disconnect in mental health. And one of the reasons why a lot of people don't want the label of mental health is because we have stigmatized the fact that if there's anything different or anything from the norm going on in your brain, it means that you are crazy, you are insane, you are not normal, you are not worthy of conversation that you need kid glove conversation type of deal, right? If you notice, we slap the label of mental health on everything. Somebody commits a school shooting, oh, it was mental health. Somebody murders their wife and their children, oh, it was mental health. So a lot of people, especially those who are going through deep, dark times such as the depression, and not just depression, but this is some deep diving type of depression, because everybody experiences depression at some point, some abject sadness. But if you are going through something personal and you're hearing these labels of mental health being slapped on things like people shooting up 17 kids in a school, you're going to go, that's not me. So that's not what I have, right? Hey, Josh. That's not what I have. So if you're going through personal, you don't want to hear anything about you having a mental health problem, because we slap that label on everything, and it's so doggone broad that you don't want to be seen as a monster. Hey, that you don't want to be seen as a monster if you have a problem, right? So a lot of people will not seek out help if they have a problem. And another thing that we have, especially in the Black community, is that therapy is seen as weakness. Therapy is also seen as breaking the taboo that is keep it in the family. What happens here stays here. Y'all think Vegas has rules? A Black family home has rules. So you don't want to seek therapy because you don't want to be the person who's broken, the person who's mentally broken. And so it's seen as weakness. But one of the things that needs to be said is that therapy is a necessity. If you are feeling a certain kind of way, if you have gone through some kind of tragedy, or you just know that you can't handle life right now, then therapy is something that needs to be more than just considered. Therapy is something that should be sought. Okay? So therapy is not a weakness. Attending and speaking to someone who is third party, who is not subjective at all with your life or your circumstances. Like for instance, you could talk to a friend and they can laugh at you because they're like, girl, you've been through this before. It's like, no, I feel this one. This is really deep. I really, really feel this one. So going to somebody who is trained to handle it is a must. It's absolutely a must. One of the other things, for instance, is that I went through a tragedy. I went through rape, and whenever I tried to talk to somebody, it was too heavy for them, and I didn't understand that it was too heavy for them. So what I needed was someone who was trained and who had the tools to help go through this tragedy. And these types of things compound upon each other. As you guys see, that we have that Me Too movement going on, and a lot of people who've been silent for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. You had Gabrielle Union, you had Terry Crews, you had Lupita Nyong'o, you had everything happening with Harvey Weinstein. You had the lady at Cannes, I can't remember the name, but the actress who stood up and said, right here, I was raped in Cannes by Harvey Weinstein. So you have all these people who are silent, and that's a sore that festers, that absolutely festers. But if they're silent, that festering spills over into their lives. So we've got to do therapy for these things that bother us. It could be parental abandonment. It could be, feeling, I forgot what the word is, but like displacement, where you feel like you don't fit into something that you were put into. All these types of things. You need to talk to somebody and get something objective with steps that you can take, etc. So therapy is not weak. To go to therapy is actually quite strong. If you are a person who gets your strength together and say, look, I need my life changed, you are actually exhibiting more strength than the person who sits there, broods, and stays silent, creates an addiction, takes it out on people, all those things. So you're actually a heck of a lot stronger than the person. Now, I want to get to this issue with, hey Irene, this issue with entrepreneurship. Kate Spade, to a lot of us, looked like she had it all, right? She had everything that a lot of us, especially in entrepreneurship, are trying to attain, right? We want to have financial freedom. We want to have the laptop lifestyle. We want to maybe even hobnob with people who are of celebrity status. We want our products to be in different houses or to be household names. We want these things that Kate Spade had. As I was going through the internet and reading up about her, everybody told a story about something that they had of hers. I have her wallet. I have her purse. I hate that her memory actually got reduced to a product. I have. But it also showed that her personality, even if it was in a product, her personality was large. However, as someone pointed out earlier, people say that it's lonely at the top. Everybody's crowded at the bottom of the mountain, but the person who works up at the top, they're usually there almost by themselves, right? So if it's lonely at the top, imagine what it means to someone who's even topper of the top, right? So when we get to the top, we lose friends. We don't know why people are around. Our relationships might actually not be any good. We could have people wanting us just for our money or the experience or the connection. So we don't necessarily have people who want us for us, So in entrepreneurship, this is a lonely trial. This is a lonely thing. On one hand, just to give a personal story, I'm one of the only entrepreneurs in my family. And when people don't support, at first it bothered me, but then I came to understand that they're not my customer and they're not the person I wanted. However, that non-support does hurt, initially. It does bother you. It's, why am I different? Why am I not worthy of your support? You would buy this, but I make something even similar or maybe more affordable, but you won't pay for that. So as an entrepreneur, it's a lonely life. It's a lonely life. And what is really important for a person in entrepreneurship is masterminding. Like, you have to find a core group of people who you can trust and who's going in the same direction, which is up, in the same direction that you're going into. It's no mistake that they say you are surrounded by you are the five people you're surrounded by. So if you're surrounded by people who won't support you, then you're going to be a person who doesn't necessarily grow. So, hey, Wanda, so you need to be with people who have a growth mindset, people who are working on their mental, people who are working on their emotional, people who are working on their financial. So entrepreneurship does not have to be lonely. It does not have to be a lonely escapade. It needs to be something where you find connections and you create connections. That is through networking, that is through masterminding, that is through joining the kinds of groups that you can join that doesn't relish gossip, okay? If you keep yourself with the negative, you're going to stay in a negative place. So that's entrepreneurship. So real quick, I wanted to tell my own story with suicide. And normally I only tell the one of when I was 16 years old, right? Normally I only tell the one of where I was a child at 16 who was having problems with my mom and whose dad was not around because I didn't know my biological father at the time. And so I remember thinking this world would be a better place if I wasn't here and all that kind of jazz, right? And so I literally went through, there's something in here. I literally went through cabinets at my aunt's house, at my grandma's house, and I grabbed all of their pills. Sorry, the phone is in the way. There we go. I grabbed all of their pills. From my aunt's house, I grabbed sleeping pills. From my grandma's house, I grabbed, I don't know, I can't fix it right now. But from my grandma's house, I grabbed Tylenol 3s with codeine. And so I had like 9 sleeping pills because I figured, let me make sure I don't wake up. And then I had all these Tylenol 3s because it was almost a full bottle. And I put those in my hand and my cousin saw me. And my cousin was like, what are you going to do with that? And I don't remember if I told him what I was going to do with it, but he took them from me. Not the sleeping pills, because I hadn't gotten those yet. He took the Tylenol 3s from me, went into the bathroom, and he flushed them down the toilet. Well, when he left the room, I just went and got some more. So with those pills, I swallowed them, and then I went to sleep, because I'm like, I'm going to sleep my life until it's gone. And, well, I woke up the very next morning, and I was really pissed because I did what I thought I needed to do to leave, and it didn't happen. So I didn't look at it in a positive. I looked at it as a negative. I was upset. I got up. I went to school. Like, I was a person who was very reactionary to life. So I just did what I was supposed to do. You know, I woke up on one time. My aunt's outside honking the horn on the bus, so I got up and I left. That was my initial suicide story. Like, fortunately, nothing happened. I didn't need my stomach pumped. Nothing happened. I'm grateful for that. But that would have been an experience that probably would have kept me from doing it again. But I did. I did attempt again. Fast forward 3 years, I'm 19 years old. Oh, wait, before we fast forward, a month or two after I committed suicide, I got raped. And then 2 weeks later, I found out I was going to be a mom. And then 9 months later, I had a baby. And fast forward now, I was 19 and I was pregnant again with my second child. Now this child was a result of me not dealing with the rape issue and all that came with. That's why I said therapy is super important. If you're a parent and your child doesn't go, your child decides they're okay and they had enough, send them again. Send them again. Something's going to click. Give them a different person because maybe that person doesn't work. Just keep sending them because my mom just quit. She's like, all right, cool. It wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all, because before I even got pregnant with the second one, I came home with my first child from the hospital. I had a C-section, so that went wrong. You know, I all of a sudden, sorry, Facebook is losing me. I all of a sudden had a C-section, and then when I got home, I had postpartum depression. My mom went back to work and left me at home with that baby, and I almost killed the baby because he was crying, I was crying, I couldn't stop crying, he wouldn't stop crying, and so I started shaking him. And I probably would have killed him that day, but crazy enough, it was announced that Tupac had been killed, and I stopped. And then I looked down, I'm like, what was I about to do? And I walked out of the room, and not too many people knew that. So here I am, 19, pregnant again, this time by somebody I did not like, and I never would have talked to. And next thing you know, 8 months pregnant, standing by the side of the street. There was a bus nearby, and it was getting ready to take off. And before I could think, I heard the bus like go into gear, and then I stepped forward, hoping to be hit. And this is a weird part, but I felt somebody pull me back, and nobody was there. Like, I literally felt a hand. It was like, get your behind over here. And nobody was there. So I lost Facebook. I lost Facebook. That's all right. Just going to end with Facebook. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it. I went to do it again. But having children actually made me not do it. I didn't want them to have to go through that. And so I have been super depressed to the point of wanting to run away. I was like, that's it. I'm never going to try to commit it again. I was depressed to the point of wanting to run away. And I'm sorry, I didn't see the messages. So let me get back on Facebook real quick. Hold on. All right, so apparently I was live. And people were actually paying attention. Didn't know they were. This is why you always keep talking. This is why you always keep talking. Somebody's listening. Okay. Hey, Facebook, I lost you. So I don't even know where I lost you. And I was just talking to Periscope about it. And so I'm just going to backtrack just a little bit so that I can make sure that you heard what needed to be heard. So I think you got the pills part. I'm pretty sure that's what you got. That I swallowed the pills. I woke up upset. Nothing happened. And obviously I'm still here, so it didn't work. And then when then right after I had the baby, this is where I needed to see somebody, like, for real, because I didn't know about postpartum depression. I mean, I kind of saw that Molly Ringwald movie where she didn't attach to the baby. But I didn't know about postpartum depression to the point of where you would kill your baby. So I didn't kill my baby. Let me just say that right now. But about a couple weeks after I had the child, I had my son, and I came home, my mom went back to work and left me home alone with this baby. And the baby wouldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. I did not know that I had postpartum depression. And I was shaking him at that point, and I'm like, you're like, stop crying. I think I was saying, stop crying. And what stopped me from killing my baby, it's like, it was such a weird time of my life. What stopped me from doing it was that on MTV, the announcer came on and said, Tupac shaker, was killed. And that made me pause. And I immediately got angry because, like, you said his name wrong. I was 17. And that was like my rapper of choice. And then I looked down and I saw the baby, and I'm like, what was I doing? And I got up and I left. I left the room. And so I continued, but I did not realize how depressed I was. I was actually depressed for a very, very long time. Fast forward to the point of me being 8 months pregnant at 19 with this child, with a guy I didn't like, I never would have talked to, but because I was in such a terrible mental state from being raped, I didn't make good choices. And so I was standing by the side of the road, and there was this huge bus, MTA, like the metro buses. There was this huge bus, and it was sitting there, and it was picking people up, and there was like nobody else getting on this bus. And I was standing by the road, and then I heard the bus shift gears, like it was about to go. And then I stepped in front of the bus, or tried to, as it was moving forward. And like I said, this is a crazy thing maybe, is that when I took that step, I felt a hand on my shoulder yank me back. And it was really like, I don't know, I think I was protected that night. But that doesn't mean that I stopped feeling really bad. What I learned is that depression is genetic in my family. My mother, it's genetic in my family. My sister had to be on some kind of pills, and my mom refused to get pills. My mom looked at mental health as if it was a crazy thing. But she has experienced great levels of depression. And so I've come to understand that it is passed down, but I don't necessarily think it's a genetic thing. I think it's a curse, those generational curses, because we don't deal with those things. We don't deal with mental health. We don't deal with issues. We run from them. We hide them. We sweep them up under a rug. We don't face them. We don't work to get solutions to problems. We are content with problems being problems. Like, we just don't do what we need to do, which is break those curses, work to break those curses. And so my mother, even up until last year, threatened suicide. And, my mom's in her 50s, and I'm sitting here in my 30s like, I can't continue with this. So while I felt really terrible, and whenever I feel myself slipping back down, I reach out. I might not tell people, hey guys, I'm feeling super depressed, but I tell people like, hey, I need to hang out with you guys. Or, one of the things I loved about living in Miami is whenever I was slipping under, I would go to the beach, because the sun is a natural antidepressant. It is super helpful in getting that. If you notice, depressed people stay shuttered away, right? They hide in their rooms, they shutter up, they don't seek the sun. And so if you are experiencing depression, seek the sun, but also seek help. I've included it in the title, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. And for anybody just listening, instead of watching, it's 1-800-273-8255. Excuse me. That is the National Suicide Prevention Line. So you want to be different, and the way to be different is to face your problems head on. And if your problems feel too big, get somebody to help you. Get somebody who is trained to help you. Excuse me. Do not try to slay dragons when you don't have the right tools. You've got to get help where you can get help. And I am sorry. This is ridiculous. And so, as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a person who has survived suicide, not once but twice, and as a person who still deals with these dark days occasionally. Like, you know, over the last year, I had been super financially strapped. I had these gifts. I didn't know how to put them out there. And I was shopping at the Dollar Tree for groceries. So it's a very depressive state to be in when you struggle to provide for your family. I get it. I understand it. But I held on to brighter days. I would write out my dreams. I would write out, this is what life is right now. And it wasn't about not dealing with the present. It was about understanding that my present affects my future. And so if I take myself out, I not only affect my future by ending it, but I also affect the futures of my children because they will have to live a life without their mother. And that was not one cross I wanted to put on them. Life is hard enough without me adding to it. So we have got to work through those things. We have to meet our dragons head on if we can. And if we can't, we have to go get help. And you have to be connected to something. I wrote this book called Giving Yourself Permission, a guide to reclaiming your life after sexual assault. And while it's about sexual assault, the chapter that I talk about rocking out your life, that chapter deals with so much else. Okay, so that chapter, I'm just going to read to you what it is. Okay, just real quick. You see those? Rock, R-O-C-K, R-O-C-K. You need to rock out your life, okay? And the only way you can do that is to reclaim your life. So if you feel those darkness days or that darkness swamping around you, you have got to strap on your armor and get to reclaiming. And how do you do that? First of all, you have to take an honest look at yourself. What's happening? How have I contributed? How can I fix this? And what help do I need? Right? And then the second part would be to own your story. So again, that deals with the first part, which is this is my truth, you know? And like I said, having gone through those financial hardships, I had to go, this is where I am right now. This isn't where I'm going to stay, but this is where I am. And then the next one is to connect to something outside of yourself. And that is important, okay? So connecting to something outside of yourself means masterminding, getting a coach, getting a consultant, getting a therapist, taking trap and paint, like getting outside of that dark space that you're in and forcing the fun until it's no longer forced, until it doesn't feel forced. And if you never feel like that lets up, get your help. You have got to connect. And it's not just with your head. It's not with your brain, because obviously that's where the trouble is, right there, right then. Okay. And then the other part to that K part, is knocking down negativity. And I know negativity. I know it like a second skin. You have to knock it down. Anytime that junk swells up, you can name it. You can name it. You don't have to call it negative Nancy. You can call it, look here, Bonquisha. Not today. Not today. You will not be taking me through another negative moment. Not today. Anytime that negativity bubbles up, not today. No, Bonquisha, it's not happening. It is not happening. Whatever you want to name it. Okay, no, Karen, I don't need none of your bland raisins today. You can keep that negative stuff over there. Whatever it takes, and I'm honestly, I'm not even being facetious with this. I'm not laughing. Name it, because if you name it, you can sit it down. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. This has been 30 minutes, and have the conversation. If you've been through it, I want to hear your stories, and I also want to hear how are you working through it. How are you planning to rock your life? Okay, not end your life, rock your life, reclaim your life, own your story, connect to something outside of yourself, and knock down that negativity. So let me know your stories. I am here to listen. If you need help, again, there's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I'm a big proponent of writing, so journaling definitely helps, especially when you get a chance to look at it from ahead, to look back and then go, I got through this, okay? And honestly, do that too. Do that too. List the things that you have made it through, and you're going to realize you are a heck of a lot stronger than you thought you were. You do not have to take yourself out. Even if you had a terminal diagnosis, you do not have to take yourself out. What you have to do at that point, and I'm going to say have to, is live. Why? Because that is the best way to leave a legacy. Not of hurt, not of pain, not of shame, not of anything like that. Live. Live. Do things you have never done. Go on Groupon, Living Social, whatever. Choose something, do something once a week or once a month. Just live. And I'm going to end now because Mommy Life is calling me. And bye, guys. Mommy. Mommy. Do you see me here?